So I'm going to show a video about replacing the tailgate latch, which does fail on the 211s, and you'll see my problem here. So here's the Series 2 211 and the bonnet or boot problem. You can hear that tailgate's opening properly without drama, and you can see our 2007 update model only has the closing, but the problem is something is slipping. Something is not right, and the noise is coming from this part here. So you can see here the part, which is actually a Huff part, a 211 part number, and I've ordered a new one from Mercedes, costing $395 US as of 2025. Here it is out of the box. The foam pieces stay on, and you can see the little cables on them. So not a cheap task. We've had this car now for 10 plus years, so it's not going anywhere. Now, if you need the clips, there's the clips for the carpeted pieces. This whole set of panels is going to have to come off. And the job took about an hour and a half with myself and my small helper. The 8 clips are on the side there. You can see they need to come off. And I'm just using a cloth to try and reduce the scratching on the trim there. So taking these out with the male portion and then taking out the female portion. And originally I thought I was just going to take that plastic sill off, but ultimately you had to take off the carpeted trim. So that comes off pretty easy, and then you need to detach the switch for the closing, which is very easy, and then you can gently place that piece aside. So there's our failed latch where the noise was emanating from, and you can see where the cables go from the new one. This is the old one, and pulling the latch, the lever inside, you can see how that activates the little opening mechanism. You cannot get access to them without everything off. So let's take the carpeted piece off. I've taken the males out of these rivets, and then I've got to take the other side. You do need to take the switch off in the center. You can see there with the latch first. In addition, you can see the little tabs. There's 6 of them, 3 per side. The trim piece has to go upwards. So I'm going to come back to that thought, but you can see here the Phillips screw comes out of the little lever. This has to come off before you take the other piece off. You can see there is the part number for that. That's sliding upwards to get it off. The little strap has to come off with the 2 Torx screws. Now the carpeted trim piece needs to go, if you're in the car and it was down, upwards to get it off. You don't just pull it down, it needs to go upwards. It would probably be easier with those side grey trims off, but I was not game to take them off. So I'm going to push that upwards, forwards towards the car bonnet, and then I'm going to remove that switch by pushing that to the side. And there's the part number for the carpeted internal trim piece. So there's the latches, there's 6 of them, and you can see one had already been snapped off. I'm going to blame someone else for that. So the latch needs to come off, or the lever inside the car. So there's 2 Torx screws on each side, but there is a third one at the base which is larger. I think that was a Torx 30, and that has to come off because you can't get those cables off without that. So at this point you can take the broken latch off. There's only 3 size 30 Torx screws. Push that in, and this will just give a little bit of play in the cables, enabling you to sort of slide things in and out a bit. So once this comes off, life will get a little bit easier for you. So off we go, and you can see the lever has now got more play to get the cables off. So you can take the switch out, and that only goes in one way, so that's pretty easy. Now you can see there's the old red cable, so simply clip it out and then slide the ball out. That's very easy, and you can feed that through. And then we've got to get the yellow one off. which is easier when there's a bit of play in the system. So my little helper gets the yellow one out. And there we go. So that's now ready to come out. And as I noted, this is a Huff part, which is really interesting. The only time I ever saw Huff was on the keys of our old 80s Mercs, the 123s and 116s and everything else. I'm not sure if they make the new ones. But now it's time to feed in the new part number. And so I'm just going to put that switch in there and feed it in there so things don't fall out. The cables were connected prior to that, and I'm sorry I've just cropped that out. But you just connect the cables by clipping in the ball joint and then clipping in the little plastic connectors. So let's do up the 3 Torx screws on the internal lever. Then we're going to put the trim piece on after putting on the switch connector for the courtesy light. So I've got to get the courtesy light switch, which is just pushed inwards towards the center. That switch comes off by pushing it outwards, if you're wondering. Now we're going to line these little clips up on the inside. This is a little bit of a bugger, and the top ones were harder to get on. I actually used a long screwdriver to help sort of guide them in and then pull that trim downwards, if that makes sense. The strap is going on with the 2 Torx screws before the plastic trim goes on and down. And then we're going to put that little Phillips screw in there. And everything's feeling appropriate. Now it's time to connect the closure button switch. On we go. Line this up. Put in the female rivets. There we go, the 8 of those. Just making sure the carpet's all tucked in the inside. And then we can start to put the males in. Although I've still got the females for the carpeted piece, 2 per side. And I did make that mark. I scuffed that there, which is a bit disappointing. So the males are going in and things are looking appropriate. So it may be a good idea to buy some of those rivets, because probably in about 10 years they'll just snap when these things come off the car, because they'll be baked and the plastic will be rubbish. So you saw those part numbers prior. And then we'll put the final male rivets into the carpeted trim before we test the closure and opening of this door. Please be good. And open. No noise. This is sounding promising. Or not sounding promising, I should say. Cool. No more noise. All for $400 US. What a bargain.